Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Breaking Barriers, the mental health podcast. Today, we're diving into a topic that affects so many people, but is still often misunderstood, and it is gaslighting, which is a term that has become more widely known recently, but not everyone realizes just how damaging it can be. Gaslighting can happen in romantic relationships, friendships, family dynamics, and even at the workplace.
That's right, Camila. Gaslighting is a form of emotional abuse that can make you doubt your own reality, your feelings. You can feel like you're crazy, and even your sense of self. It's subtle, it's manipulative, and it's powerful. Today, we're going to explore what gaslighting really is, why people use it, and most importantly, how you can recognize it and protect yourself if it's happening to you.
We're not just talking about textbook definitions here. We will also share real life examples, signs to watch for, and tools to empower you if you've experienced gaslighting or know someone who has. This is an important episode because gaslighting can have long term effects on your mental health, your self esteem, and your trust in others.
So, what is gaslighting? Let's start by defining gaslighting. At its core, gaslighting is a psychological manipulation technique where someone makes you doubt your own reality. This term actually comes from a 1944 movie called Gaslight, where a husband manipulates his wife into thinking she's losing her mind. He dims the gaslights in their home, and when she notices, he insists that it's all in her imagination. The movie is a perfect example of how gaslighting works. It's small, calculated actions that make the victim question what's real and what's not.
And in real life, gaslighting can be subtle. It doesn't start with overt lies or big manipulations. It often begins with small comments or actions that are designed to make you doubt yourself. For example, imagine that you're in a relationship where your partner constantly downplays your achievements or feelings. They may say things like, "Why are you making such a big deal out of nothing?" Or "You're way too sensitive." Over time, these comments make you start questioning if your feelings are valid or if you're going crazy.
Yes, exactly. The goal of gaslighting is to make the victim dependent on the gaslighter's version of their reality. It's about control. When someone makes you doubt your own memory, perceptions, or even sanity, it becomes much harder to leave the relationship or assert yourself. You start relying on the gaslighter's perspective to make sense of things because you've lost confidence in your own judgment.
Gaslighting can happen in all types of relationships. In romantic relationships, it often takes the form of one partner trying to control or belittle the other. But we also see it in friendships, where one friend constantly invalidates the other's feelings, or even at work, where maybe a boss or a colleague may make you doubt your own capabilities.
And what makes gaslighting so insidious is that it's often gradual. It might start with occasional comments, but over time it escalates. By the time someone realizes they're being gaslit, they may already feel totally trapped and deeply confused.
But, why do people gaslight? So, in many cases, again, it's all about control. Gaslighting is a way for someone to keep their partner or friend depending on them by undermining their confidence. In romantic relationships, people with narcissistic tendencies often use gaslighting as a tool to maintain power. And this is something that we discussed in our previous episode.
Yes, that's correct. People with narcissistic personality disorder, or as we know, NPD, are especially likely to gaslight. For them, it's often a way to avoid accountability by making you question your memory, your reality, and they shift the blame away from themselves. For example, if you confront a narcissistic partner about their behavior, they might say, "You're imagining things," or "You're just trying to start some drama again." This redirects the focus and makes you doubt your own concerns.
And gaslighting can also be a learned behavior. Some people grow in environments where manipulation and control are too normal. So they bring those same patterns into their adult relationships. Now, while this doesn't excuse the behavior, it can explain why some people fall into the pattern of gaslighting without fully realizing what they're doing.
Absolutely. And for some people, gaslighting is a defense mechanism. They may feel insecure, afraid of rejection, or fearful of being exposed in some way. By making the other person doubt themselves, they protect their own sense of security, even if it comes at the expense of someone else's mental health.
And honestly, it sucks because while gaslighting can be intentional, it's not always consciously planned. Some people aren't fully aware of the harm that they're causing, but that doesn't make it any less damaging.
So let's go over some common signs you're being gaslit. Let's get into those signs and what they are. If you're listening and you think you might be experiencing this, here are some red flags to watch out for. One big sign is feeling like you're constantly second guessing yourself. You might start wondering, am I being too sensitive? Or did I remember that wrong? This constant self doubt is a key marker of gaslighting.
That's a horrible feeling. And another classic sign is when the person denies things that clearly happen. For example, let's say that you had an argument where they raised their voice, okay? Later, when you bring it up and you're trying to talk, they might say, I never yell at you, you're exaggerating. Over time, these denials make you question your own memory and reality.
That's It really does make you feel like you're going crazy. And yes, they might use phrases like, you're overreacting, or no one else would see it that way. These statements make you feel like your reactions aren't valid. So you start dismissing your own feelings as irrational or exaggerated.
Gaslighters also often isolate their victims. They might discourage you from seeing certain friends or family members, saying things like, they don't really understand you or they're jealous of us. This isolation makes you more reliant on the gaslighter's version of reality because you no longer have an outside perspective to validate your experiences. Because, especially in good friendships, whenever you're explaining something that happened to you, someone that is from the outside will be able to pick up on those signs that you won't be able to do for yourself.
That's such a good point. I'm so glad you said that because it can help. It certainly happens also with friendships, like you said earlier. And then there's the tactic of diverting. When they change the subject or question your memory when you bring up a concern. For example, if you say, it hurt me when you dismissed my feelings, they might respond with, why are you always so negative? Or can't you ever let things go? This makes it hard to address the real issue and keeps you feeling totally off balance.
So let's bring in some real life examples to make this even more understandable. Imagine that you're in a relationship and you're excited to share a personal achievement with your partner or a friend. Instead of celebrating with you, they will downplay it by saying something like, you know what, that's not a big deal. Anyone could do that. This is a form of gaslighting that over time, little moments like this will chip away your confidence and make you feel like your accomplishments are invalid.
It's a great example. And another example is when a partner constantly shifts blame onto you. Let's say they do something that upsets you, like I don't know, forgetting an important date or making a hurtful comment. And when you bring it up, they might respond, "You're just too sensitive. I can't say anything around you." Suddenly, your valid concern becomes a reflection of your flaws, not their actions.
And gaslighting can happen in friendships too. Imagine that you have a friend, okay, who's consistently putting you down in any way. They may be direct, indirect, and when you confront them, they just go and say, oh, wow, you're just overreacting. I was just joking. You're so serious all the time. This minimizes your feelings and makes you doubt whether the disrespect you felt was even real.
It's those small, Seemingly harmless comments that can be the most damaging because they make you feel like the problem is with you and not the gaslighter. Over time, you start suppressing your own feelings to avoid being called dramatic or overly sensitive.
Honestly, I have a few people that are coming into mind right now, and I just can't.
Me
I
too.
can't even deal. Okay, so let's jump now about the psychological impact that it has. So, long term exposure to gaslighting can lead to anxiety, depression, and even PTSD. The constant self doubt can make you feel like you're losing touch with reality, and this can wreck anyone's world.
Yes, and self doubt can turn into self blame. Many people who experience gaslighting end up blaming themselves for the abuse, thinking, maybe I am too sensitive, or maybe I am the problem. This can create a cycle of guilt and shame that's very hard to break. And all of this, if you remember, we when we discussed it with Emily from Women in Distress, she talked about the vicious cycle of power and isolation. Wow.
Yes, that's a very big one. The isolation. Many people being gaslit feel embarrassed to talk to others about their experiences. They're doubting what they're feeling, or they've been told by the gaslighter that others won't understand. And this can lead them to withdraw from their support network, which only strengthens again the gaslighter's control and the power that they have over you.
And let's not forget the long term effects on self esteem. When you're constantly made to feel wrong or inadequate, it can lead to a loss of identity. You start questioning your own worth, and it becomes difficult to trust yourself and to trust others.
Now, let's jump into how to respond to gaslighting. So, if someone thinks that they're being gaslit, what can they do? First, document what's happening. And I mean, like, document, write down incidents and conversations that had made you feel confused or doubtful. This can be really powerful because it's going to give you something tangible to look back on and confirm that, yes, this did happen. This is exact.
Camila, I love that you just brought that point because I think that's so powerful. Keeping a record helps you see patterns and validate your own experiences. Another approach is to set boundaries, which we've talked about many times.
Of my boundaries.
Yes, when someone tries to make you doubt yourself, calmly stand by your reality. For example, if they say, that never happened, you can respond, I remember it differently and I trust my memory. Standing firm can weaken their control over you.
Absolutely. And do not hesitate to reach out to someone that you trust. Talking to a friend, a family member, or even a therapist, it can provide you with an outside perspective and help you feel grounded in your own reality. Sometimes just hearing someone say, that sounds really hard and it's not okay, that little comment can make a huge difference.
Therapy can be an especially effective tool. A therapist can help you rebuild your confidence, regain trust in yourself, and teach you coping strategies for dealing with manipulation. It can be so empowering to have a safe space to process what you're going through.
And remember, you don't have to confront the gaslighter if it doesn't feel safe or productive. Setting boundaries might mean reducing contact or creating an exit plan if you feel ready to leave your relationship. Protecting your mental health should always, always, always be the priority.
Amen to that. So, final thoughts. Gaslighting can be incredibly isolating and damaging, but understanding it is the first step to breaking free. If you're constantly doubting yourself or feeling like you're always in the wrong, know that it's okay to seek support. You deserve to trust your own reality.
Yes, and remember that your feelings are valid. Gaslighting is a powerful tool, but by recognizing the signs and standing firm in your truth, you can regain control. You have to trust yourself and don't be afraid to reach out for help.
So, thank you so much for joining us today. If this episode resonated with you, or if you know someone who could benefit from hearing it, please share it. Gaslighting thrives in silence. So let's keep this conversation going.
Take care of yourself and remember your perception, your reality, and your mental health matter. So, see you next time on Breaking Barriers and let us know what other topics you want to hear here with us.
Bye.
Bye.